Oh, and there's somebody watching. So now we have to behave ourselves. So cool. So welcome everybody. Thank you for participating in this experiment that we're Well Start Health. I'm Howard Jacobson. I want to introduce our other coaches. Say hello, Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh Lajani.
Okay. And Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Davis.
Okay. And this is a sort of a demo of what group coaching looks like, feels like, smells like, and what people can get out of it. So the first thing is, we're in this group. We can see, for the most part, see each other's faces, which I think adds an element of, like, you feel like you get to know people a little bit. And so the ground rules here are, in general, since when we're not doing this on Facebook Live and then broadcasting it to the world, is confidentiality. So what happens in the group stays in the group. This is a no judgment zone and a safe zone, because what we're doing here, the way we look at health coaching, it's not about, okay, here's some recipes and here's how to do a shop. Like the tactical things are pretty straightforward, pretty easy. What we work with is the behaviors and the habits that come back and keep trying to bite us. And those moments when we're feeling tired or upset or stressed out and we fall backwards and we can't understand why we're so passionate about this way of life, and yet in our secret places we're sabotaging ourselves. Things like that. So we're bringing kind of tender parts of ourselves, and we're all works in progress. I promise you, your coaches here have screwed up today. If not today, then yesterday. If not yesterday, then tomorrow. Like, we are all humans, and what we're looking for is partly a community, partly accountability, and partly a space to explore new ways, new habits, and new possibilities. So with that, I got one more attendee to promote to panelist. And so welcome, Heather. And Heather, if oh, there you go. You've got your video, and so you can mute and unmute yourselves as you need to. So Heather, we were just starting live. I'd love just for we have just enough, if folks could one at a time kind of just introduce yourselves and say, like, what you're working on, like what's a thing, sort of an edge that you would like to explore, some habit, some behavior, some challenge around health and wellness and well-being and healthy habits that you would like some help with. So who would like to begin? Remember, airtime, dead air makes for bad TV.
Okay, I'll jump in with my issue. It's sleep. The diet side is fine. The exercise side is fine. As you can see, I'm on my Kogan hydraulic stepper. Quick plug there. Meditation practice, got that down pat. It's the sleep thing, and I know that it's important. I keep freaking myself out listening to Dean and Aisha Sherzai talking about the effect of sleep on dementia risk, and I read all these studies saying you should sleep more, and I'm still up at 11:30 at night, returning emails, working on projects, trying to get everything done that sort of landed on my plate that day so that it doesn't get shunted over to the following day. And I can actually keep going pretty well on minimal amounts of sleep, but I know it's not good for me. And eventually I just get really cranky and no one likes me. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll come back to you. I think we'll probably work with you first. Let's hear from other folks what you're working on.
So Kathy, since she can't speak or do video, she did type a message over here. One of her challenges is not boredom eating is, trying to stop boredom eating at night. So I always eat plants, but I feel kind of bloated when I do it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Kevin, for catching that. Who's next?
I'll be next.
Okay, Kathy. So Kathy with a C.
Kathy with the C. I have a lot of trouble when I feel stressed that the diet just I sort of find something that I shouldn't be eating. And I know I'm sabotaging myself, but, I can't seem to get beyond that and not do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. We will tackle that one tonight as well. So let's hear one or two more. I think we'll have some material to start.
Hi,
working on.
I can go. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am a mom of two, and I would consider myself an athlete. I used to run half marathons, and then 3 years ago, I got really fit doing CrossFit, and I'm a CrossFit coach and a yoga instructor and a personal trainer. And then I had like osteoporosis and arthritis in my hip. They called it anyway, I had to have a total hip replacement. So then it took me like 3 years to get back to where I was lifting wise. So now I'm deadlifting near 300 pounds again, and I'm squatting almost 200 again. I'm just doing all the stuff I used to be doing, except now I am like 15 or 20 pounds heavier than I was. So it's really challenging to do pull-ups and the other things I'm used to doing. And I get so intense from my workouts, and I want to eat everything. Like after deadlifting, we do insane stuff, which probably a lot of you know, but I'll be deadlifting like 185 pounds, like 50 times. And then I'm really hungry, and I just don't know how to satiate that hunger with plants. I make these huge kale. Anyway, maybe I'm going too deep. Anyway, so I want to know how I can lose weight, be satiated, and then still also feel really strong. And I'm freaked out about protein and how not to create IGF-1. And I listen to all Howard's podcasts, and I listen to Ian Kramer and Rich Roll, and it's spinning in my head. But I also love Fully Raw Christina, and I love the raw vegan diet, and I love the purity of that. Mm-hmm. And I feel best when I'm on all these plants. I feel yes, I feel so much power. Anyway, but I still love tortilla chips, and I go down dark roads sometimes, with the tortilla chips, or I don't know, bread is another one. Anyway, sorry you guys, I just took too long, but my goal is how to be fully powered up as an athlete, especially a power athlete.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, we will get with that too. Anyone else have something they'd like to share, maybe work on today? All right, everyone else is happy to just be part of the supportive group in the space. Okay.
I have a question. I'm 76, and I worked really hard over many years, especially after the guy in my life came up with AFib. So my diet's pretty clean, and actually I got off a blood pressure pill, but I'm sort of stuck at the same weight, and I started eating potatoes and basically vegetables at night. I thought maybe eating greens at night might help, and I eat some fruit, and that's where I am. I'm sort of stuck at a certain weight, and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go down.
Okay, great. All right, so that's on the list too. Anyone else? All right, so I don't know that we're going to get to everything, get to everyone, but we'll do the best we can. And I'm expecting that if everyone imagines that, first of all, can people sort of relate to what other people have said, even though it might not have been your presenting issue?
Yes.
Right. So there's certain themes that we've heard about, I know X and I'm doing Y, and I don't know why I'm doing Y when I know X. And there's some degree of bewilderment and there's some degree of beating ourselves up. Right.
Right.
So in one sense, there's that theme, and then of course in other senses, everyone's in very, very different places. So love to begin with Robin. You can unmute yourself. So could you take us to a recent night where you went to bed later than you wanted to or should have?
How about we try last night?
Okay. So we're gonna do one of our signature moves, the FAST assessment. And FAST stands for feeling, acting, sensing, and thinking. So let's start with acting. So as if we were a fly on the wall, what would we have seen when you said, okay, well now it's time for bed, but what happened instead?
Around about probably 9:30 p.m. I was really, really tired. I was complaining to my husband as I helped with the washing up. Oh, I'm so tired. And then I went to the computer and there were half a dozen emails in the inbox. And then I get this strange second wind phenomenon where once I start responding to emails and, you know, and just looking at the to-do list and seeing what I didn't get done from the to-do list, suddenly the energy level rises again. And, you know, I've got Loop Habit Tracker on my phone, and so it beeps at 10 p.m. and it says go to bed, and I ignore it. And then it's 10:30, it's 11, I'm finally getting to bed, you know, I think it was about 11 last night that I got to bed. So I make myself busy, and then I kind of overcome that fatigue that is clearly directing me to go to sleep.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's the acting. And what are you feeling at that moment? You're like, okay, I'm kind of tired, but you look in your inbox and all of a sudden you get this rush.
Yeah, feeling the pressure that if I don't deal with it tonight, then I have to wake up tomorrow and deal with it. And then tomorrow's to-do list is already a mile long. So it's sort of, I've got this sense that I'm only adding to my own pressure if I don't get it done now, even though I'm tired.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so that feeling of pressure, like what are the emotions around that? So like so far you've sort of explained cognitively, like, yeah, I have this to-do list. Let's go to sensing, like in your body. If you think about going, like had you closed your browser, closed your laptop, gone to bed with that knowledge of a whole bunch of undone to-dos being added on, what do you feel in your body as you think about that?
Anxiety.
Okay. So take us there. Like if I didn't know what the word meant and you just wanted to describe like what it's like to be in your body at that moment, how would you describe it?
Yeah, churning in my gut and well, it's racing thoughts. I suppose the feeling associated with that would be, it's like a spinning sensation in my head.
Okay.
But I primarily feel it in my gut.
Okay. And so it sounds like an unpleasant feeling.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And when does it go away, or what happens when you sit down and you actually like start responding to the emails?
Settles right down.
Uh-huh. Okay. So you mentioned earlier that you have like Dean and Aisha Sherzai's voice in your head about why you need to go to bed early. You said.
And Neil Barnard and oh God, you know, and Alan Goldhammer and Doug Lyle and everyone who's anyone in the plant-based movement is always banging on about
it too. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, totally. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you said when you started, you said like, I know it's important, and you said it in kind of a tone of voice that I wonder if you know it's important. Right? Like,
oh, I know it's important.
Like, I'm trying to figure out, is this a motivation problem? Like, are you really not that motivated, or like you're just, you really, like, how badly would you like to get this sleep thing under control?
I think the issue is not a lack of motivation, it's competing motivations. So yes, I want to get enough sleep, and I know that it has both short-term benefits and longer-term benefits. I think what trumps that is, but it's like a competing motivational problem comes in where I think, okay, I do want to get this sleep, but I also don't want to wake up tomorrow going, oh God, now the to-do list is 50 miles long rather than 40 miles long.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out whether it'd be useful to have the conversation with you, a rational conversation about your to-do list, about the fact that the goal of the to-do list is never to be done. Like picture your tombstone and it says Robin Shooter, she finished. Like, is that what you're going for? My suspicion is that if we just sat down and had a conversation about goals and to-do lists and when you are at your best and how you can be most effective, that you would completely argue for going to bed early in order to be most effective. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, probably.
All right, so
Like the logical part of me says, yeah. The logical part of me says, yes. I totally buy into that. And then there's another part of me that's clinging pretty hard to getting stuff done. And I'm also aware that goes to and I won't go too deeply into this, it's not really the forum. It goes to a deeper question I'm grappling with at the moment, which is, do I keep doing what I've been doing in terms of running my practice, or do I completely change things? And I think the sticking with a to-do list is keeping me on the safe path of just keep doing what you've always done.
Mm. Yeah, so that's a really deep insight. That this isn't just about getting to bed on time. This is a nightly non-decision, right? It's a way to avoid hard
that's
decisions.
actually a very good way of putting it. Yeah.
Josh, what have you got?
Well, I would just wanted to, because to me, the word that keeps popping up in my head as I hear you talk is surrender. Because what you strike me as a very, very bright individual who has it together. Probably an A student type personality who has all of the boxes checked, right?
One of my high school teachers described me as an overachiever. It was the first time I heard the term. I didn't quite get it, but yeah.
So my mom's on the call. She can attest to this. I'm a C student. Have been a C student my entire life, right? I really feel that surrendering to, I'll take a C, has really helped me relax in a lot of ways. Another thing that might help you sleep tonight, or maybe it'll ruin your sleep, I don't know. But if you can see this, I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's my inbox.
Yeah. Yeah. No, wait. That 4,000 unanswered messages.
That was 4,817 unanswered emails. I'm not bragging.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand. It's like, and so I have so many things dangling all the time that it requires me to develop a certain amount of surrender to that shit not getting done right now. It's just not happening. Because for me, I think you're getting an A+ in the wrong thing. You're wanting an A+ in your to-do list. But if you really put that A+ mentality towards getting your sleep and put that A+ mentality towards consciously on purpose deciding to do it differently. Maybe we wake up earlier. Maybe we take 30 minutes of lunch to handle it. Maybe it's not that big of a deal that we have 4 extra things on the to-do list tomorrow. You know, maybe we whipping things up into a frenzy that to a state it really doesn't need to be. And so I'm not saying that you need 4,000 emails in your inbox unanswered, or that you should, you know, you retroactively become a mediocre student. I'm just saying that a little surrender, and a little bit of sort of loosening your grip on the reins just a bit might really go a long way in helping you sort of take that deep breath and relax and go to sleep and really put your focus and priority in that endeavor. I think that would really help from, you know, my first interaction with you on this particular subject. Have you ever read the book, The Surrender Experiment?
No, I haven't.
We virtually require people to read that with our program. It is an amazing book that really sort of helps you understand how surrender is not failure. It's not lackadaisical behavior. Surrender in a lot of ways can really bring you some beautiful, beautiful outcomes in your life. And so in my own life, it wasn't until I let go of a lot of things that I thought I wanted that I wound up with a lot of things that I really found to be a hell of a lot better, right? And so the surrender experiment was by Michael Singer was a very important step in my being able to develop some happiness with a lot of dangling undones around me pretty much perpetually. Because without a happy vessel and a really healed and recovered thoroughly vessel, because, you know, our deep REM sleep is so important. It's just as important as the plants and the movement and all of the things.
I should say also, I have no trouble getting off to sleep. I'm not an insomniac as in I'll lie awake in bed. Right. Once I
condition to go there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do that much exercise every day that by the time I get into bed, it's like I'm out.
That would be our suggestion for most people struggling with sleep would be, how much are you moving? You're probably not sweating enough, but that's not your case.
That's not me. My problem is not I have insomnia. It's I have self-imposed sleep restriction.
Because of the A+ mentality. That A+ mentality. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
so, Robin, I have a question for you. So, you know, no matter how you do during the day, you're always going to have a second chance at night. So I'm wondering if, as you look at your productivity, your focus during the day, are there any inefficiencies that maybe, you know, you're having a late afternoon slump, or you're not doing it because you know you'll have that second chance?
No, not really. No, I'm pretty much go all day.
Okay.
And yeah.
Which is even more reason why
it's really just
which is even more reason why you should really be, you know, okay with surrendering that inbox to whatever it is, right? Let it go so we can get to sleep and really attack this thing with a sound vessel tomorrow. That's you know, that's critical.
Yeah, I guess the question is, like, aside from things you read and things you hear about from all these doctors and researchers, what's the cost to you of staying awake? Is it like you don't seem cranky now?
No. Well, it's 8 a.m. I've been up since 6. I've meditated. I've exercised. I'm in a good place. Actually, the cost, that's a good one. The cost is that I have enough energy. I have ample energy for my client consultations during the day. And then when I finish that, I don't want to talk to or see another human being, including my family. I grab the dog, I go for a walk, and the fantastic thing about the dog is he doesn't say a word.
So are the emails at night another way to avoid being around people?
Not really, because this is after dinner. This is after, because we have a family dinner. I'm very insistent on that. So we've had our connection time, but it's more, so it's probably in that period between finishing up work and I'm just, sorry, I'm just aware of other people having issues and I don't want to go on too long. How can I concisely say this?
So don't
I wrap up work kind of mid-afternoon.
Hold on a second. I want you to take a breath and feel right now in your body what it feels like to perceive that you're taking up other people's time. Right? So that's
anxiety in my chest. Right?
Yeah. So I think that is a real key, that you have this view that time is a scarce resource.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
Right? So what would it be like to feel like time is just like this river? You ever go like way down into a river and the river just keeps on flowing?
Not that I can recall.
All right, that's your homework. I want you to go find a river.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, because you've got this sense that time is like money dripping through your hands, or something extremely valuable, and wasting it is a crime or a sin. And there's other ways to be in the universe around time. Right? There are people for whom time is simply the ocean in which they're swimming. And
I get that intellectually, and I know that that's a feature of many cultures, and I really envy these people, because I just have no idea how you get to that relationship with time.
Yeah. Well, so the first thing is, like, we can talk all we want about the reasons that you want to get more sleep. Right? So we can talk about, like, you don't want to get dementia. Right? You want to be doing this work in 40, 50 years, right? You don't want your kids and grandkids to have to take care of you or to be in a home. But the fact is that when you were describing that unpleasant feeling in your stomach and the spinning in your head, that's the feeling that you have to be willing to tolerate in order to develop a new relationship with time.
Interesting. Because that parallels, it's the same thing, like you have to be willing to go through the craving for food to realize, oh, actually this might kill me.
This is your this is exactly your craving. Your craving is for time efficiency. And just like someone who loves chocolate or sugar or tortilla chips, right? In the moment, that is, you are optimizing. You're getting an A+ in the craving, even though you can see that the bigger picture, you're heading towards a C. Right? So it's the same thing. So you're like, how many people have you talked to who are like, I can sense intellectually that you like greens and vegetables, but I don't understand that because I only like sweets and junk food and fatty food and burgers.
Yeah,
right?
That's kind of most people. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I hear the echo of. Like you can't know what it's like until you struggle through the transition. Right. And so your fear is, if I become one of these people who's not constantly measuring, counting time like a bean counter, I'll just lay on the sofa all day and get nothing done.
That's kind of unimaginable for me.
Good. So it's a matter of feeling that feeling and getting in touch with your deep essence. It says, on a consistent good night's sleep, I am better in the world globally. And what I have to give up in order to do that is the quick fix, that quick hit of dopamine that soothes my stomach.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
So, and before I want to leave you with a little with a move, a rule and a move. But before that, Kevin has a lot of experience in anxiety coaching and PTSD, and I'm guessing you hear a lot of parallels between this and a lot of the work you do with people around anxiety. I wonder if you have some lines of inquiry or insights.
Yeah, I mean, for sure that was definitely coming up for me when you were talking about how much you're trying to accomplish at night. The thought that I just kept thinking about, and I've spoken with a lot of people about this, just because those of us, folks that suffer from anxiety, from panic attacks and things like that, from those disorders, it's very common to have that, that very driven A+, student type personality, like what you've got. That's the way I have always been wired as well, as you strive for that. And so we always have this drive to do more and more. Well, added into that, our society, our culture really puts an emphasis on doing things and accomplishing things and getting as much done in order to be successful, or to do it, to be as good as you can, right? And so even just the thought of taking a nap in the middle of the day, or stopping after lunch to meditate for 20 minutes, right? I've found it very difficult to get people to do that, just to take a little bit of a break. And I mean, myself, I find it hard to take a break in the middle of the day, right? Because I'm getting something done. But nourishing ourselves and doing that, taking that rest, whether it's, needing a break in the middle of the day or getting to bed a little bit earlier, actually increases our productivity, and it actually diminishes, it helps with decreasing some of that anxiety, some of that stressed response. So if we're rested well, we're a little bit healthier, we're not having that same stress response. And also, even without noticing, I notice with myself, like even without actually stopping and taking a break, or having times where I'm not doing something just randomly throughout the day, if I'm still going all day long and I'm well rested and I've taken the rest time that I need, the things that I'm doing during an hour of work during the day are more productive. So I get more done in that same time.
Yeah. Gotcha. For sure. It's funny you talk about anxiety. I mean, I see so many anxious people in my practice. I've never thought of myself as an anxious person, but yeah, I have anxiety about getting stuff done. I don't have anxiety about heights or spiders or, I don't know, open spaces or anything like that. My anxiety is about, have I got enough stuff done?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing because it can show itself in so many different ways. Because so for myself, just a quick on my backstory, I never saw myself as somebody with anxiety at all. I'd never had any kind of panic attacks or anything going on. I was in a car accident, led to some PTSD and panic attacks. And then as I started to learn about it, I was like, oh, well, all these, traits that we're talking about, in your situation, my situation, those were just a form of anxiety about something different.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So Robin, I would love for you to try a little experiment.
Yeah.
Which is to create a rule, a bedtime rule. And this should be like what ideally you want. So this isn't Josh's rule or Kevin's rule or Howard's rule. This is Robin's rule. You can think of it as a standard if you don't like the word rule, but a code of a kind of a trigger, like this is what I do. This is the kind of person I am, and this is what I do. So what comes to mind for you as a bedtime rule?
What came to mind immediately is I've broken that rule so many times. So it's like I said, I've got Loop Habit Tracker on my phone, and it tells me to go to bed, and I ignore it. So that rule didn't work.
Well, but let's say you could wave a magic wand and you'd have 100% confidence that you would follow this rule. What rule would you like?
Okay. The rule that I would like is that the computer goes off at 9:30, and I'm feeling anxious even saying that. It's like something that I know I should do, and it would help a lot, and I don't know if I can do it.
So the minute we have a should in the situation, we're having blowback. Right? So Justine, what would you say to someone who comes up with a should?
I was going to say that that's not something that they're going to do.
So what would you suggest?
I would suggest that they go back to something that they feel that they could do. Like the should means that they sound like they're trying to tell us what we think, that what we want to hear, and it's more about what other people think the rule should be, as opposed to something that's really personal, that's doable. Because I could say, oh, you can lock your laptop up, you can shut it down at 9 p.m. and put it in a safe until the morning. I mean, some people do that, but it just doesn't sound like you really want to go to bed earlier.
Right. So I would challenge you and say, why should you? Why should you turn off your computer at 9:30?
So that I can have more kind of reconnection time with my husband and have some time to kind of work on my future plans.
Okay.
But when I say work on, I mean in a much more not a work sense, more like a brainstorming,
Right.
just
Like
giving myself
organic
space to
sort of
think.
ideation that's a more free sort of a thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because everything else I do is really structured.
Yeah. So some time for vision and some time for a deep connection with your husband. Those both sound delicious. They sound really nice.
Yeah,
Does they sound nice to other people? Like when you hear like unstructured visioning time and a deep connection with her husband, is that like, can you feel the yumminess in that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then is it as correct to say, I want to go
Sorry, I just have to say, my husband's listening in the background and he just said, I can.
Oh, maybe we should bring him in. Would it be as true or truer to say, instead of I should go to bed at 9:30, I really want to go to bed. I really want to turn the computer off at 9:30 because it gives me these two things that have such inestimable value.
Okay, 80% of me says yes, and the other 20% says
Okay, so let's hear the 20%. Let's just say make the rule. Computer off by 9:30. Okay, so now let's let the 20% have its say. Let's let it loose.
You're just creating trouble for yourself tomorrow.
Okay, trouble for yourself for tomorrow. Good, what else?
You're going to let people down.
Great. It's good. That voice is good. It knows exactly what buttons to push.
You'll get behind.
Great. Okay.
You just won't be able to fit everything in tomorrow.
Okay. Great. So I want to pause for a second and check in with everyone else in the group, because I know, Robin, about 10 minutes ago, you were very concerned with all the time you were taking up. Is this useful? Are people getting something out of this, or do you feel like you're just waiting for your turn and what Robin is going through this is of no value? I'd love for people to unmute yourselves and talk to Robin and let her know if this experience that we're going through with her is having any use or resonance for you.
I think it's useful.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's useful too.
Say more. We're not. Robin is very skeptical. She thinks we're bullshitting her just to be nice.
Well, I think it's like a voice in my own head, Robin. Like I've heard this voice in my own head. So I just keep coming up with strategies that I've used for myself. Like sleep feels so good. I feel like a new person in the morning when I actually sleep. Like I love reading books. And I keep thinking, well, why is she looking at the computer? Because there's blue light, and then that's going to turn on your cortisol, and it's going to make you awake more. So, like, turning the lights down low. I want to, like, make a bed and put your book in there. I want to, like, help you out. But this is the same thing happens to me. Like, if I even put a screen in front of my face, I'm wired, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. So I have to, like, bring everything down like a baby. Like, I have to baby myself. I think that's called, like, self-care, like, what would I do for my kids? I wouldn't put them in front of the screen if I was trying to put them to bed. So yeah. That's
great. Who else has
thank you.
some feedback for Robin just about how this might be useful for you?
Well, it's useful for me because I too have like struggled not so much with sleep, but feeling like I have to get everything done. And before I can go to bed, it's like I need to make sure there's no unready meals, the coffee's set up for the morning. I mean, and I wrestled with, well, I'll get behind, I'll let people down. I won't be able to do everything tomorrow. And what I would want to know is it true that you are going to let everybody down if you go to bed early? And is it true that you'll get behind? And what does that mean? Because like Josh said, there's always, or Howard said, there's always going to be stuff that comes up. And I mean, is it true that you're so powerful that if you don't address everything before you go to bed, that everybody will be let down? I mean, is that a valid fear, do you think?
Okay, so some of the things that are weighing on my mind currently is I'm speaking at 3 different conferences in the next month. And if I don't get presentations done, I do let people down. There's also, client emails to deal with. And again, if I don't answer them, then it is true that I'm letting people down. I mean, I'm not talking about, marketing emails. I find them easy to delete. I'm talking about emails from clients, emails from basically people that I have promised something to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyone else have anything to share with Robin about how this might be intersecting with your life? Because we're concerned about time. We're concerned about wasting everyone's time.
I kind of appreciate the time that she could have with the man in her life. It sounds wonderful. That little extra time really is appealing to me. I happen to make a mistake of putting a TV in my bedroom, and I want to get rid of it. But when she was involved with the computer, it's similar to a TV set, and if I got the TV set out of my bedroom, I'd have more time with my guy. she'd have more time with her guy if she had the computer gone.
Hmm. Oh, Robin, sorry, I muted you because of the. Okay, you're back.
Yep. I'd also say that if I don't put that time in at night, he tends to want to talk in the morning, and the morning is the time that I want to get up and get on with stuff. So it would actually probably make more sense to go to bed earlier and kind of, you know, do that connection then.
Right. And Robin, I wonder if you're, you know, I hear a really soulful wisdom in what Heather just said, like of 76 years of life experience about what's important here. Right. Did other people feel that too? Like Heather knows a thing or two
I appreciate
about priorities.
I still make mistakes, though.
Sure.
It's human.
I made an agreement with somebody to get rid of the TV set in the bedroom and not go on my iPad. You know, that would be a vast improvement.
Mm. And Heather, I think you may have just answered your own question.
Oh, making an agreement with somebody?
No, about what your issue earlier, what you brought up about being sort of stuck in a weight holding pattern, like, you know, like your solution may also lay with putting down screens and replacing that time with movement.
Okay. I have a project that I wanted to start, which was having watched Forks Over Knives since 2011 and then read all the books that I should, the China Study Whole, various other books, Neil Barnard. I feel really well educated and I have all this knowledge, and it makes me really sad when I see other people that are suffering from chronic aging diseases. And I figure it's never too late to get started. But people have their hands over their ears. And I was trying to find a way to connect with people in a way that's not too much in their face. And I was thinking of starting a blog.
Yeah. I want to hold on there because I want to make sure we get back to Robin.
Okay.
And so let's table this. I'd be happy to talk to you, you know, via email or offline about, and I know Josh and Kevin would as well, around this kind of advocacy. But I just want to make sure we devote this time to helping us with our issues before we then go trying to help the rest of the world with theirs, if that's okay.
Reconnect with Robin.
And really quick, I did the same thing with the whole blog thing, and just a real quick sentence here that a realization that I came to is be that. Instead of writing it, be it. And so that's what Howard's talking about a lot with the movement. You know, we talked about so a way to be an undying, enduring, perpetual lighthouse of an example is pour that energy into yourself. So the thing that you're struggling with, the weight, the sort of plateau that you're experiencing, focusing on mitigating that through, I think, probably a different approach to your movement, whatever that protocol looks like today, is going to be a wonderful avenue to that end, as far as being able to influence people that you truly care about. That's been my experience in my life, has been the more of an example I've made of myself, the easier it is to get someone's ear that I care about helping make a change.
Thanks, Josh.
And just to throw on to what you said, just sorry, real quick, just so you don't even necessarily have to attempt to get their ear when you approach it that way.
Yeah,
like it just kind of naturally happens.
Yeah. Again, that takes a certain level of surrender to trust that they're gonna come. They're gonna come to you, right? Okay. Sorry, Howard.
No worries. It's all.
So, Robin.
Yeah, I surrender. I surrender. So, Robin, I want to do a quick bit of teaching. And then I think I'm looking at the time. I don't want to keep people on too long. I would love, Josh, for you to do some teaching around Laura's issue of, right, what we're talking about, like being an athlete and like just, because I know you have a lot of experience there. But so Robin, my teaching is, so you've spoken several times about having conflicting motivations, right? And now it's about 80-20. So here's the move. The move is we're not going to try to resolve that. We're not going to try to get to 100-0. Instead, you're going to make a decision to identify with one set of motivations and call that Robin. And you're going to take the other 20% of motivations and you're going to call it something else, right? So when we do the food coaching, we often talk about our inner food demon, or some people like to call it the pig, right? It's this other entity that doesn't have our best interest at heart, right? Because you can.
Slave driver.
What's that?
The slave driver.
The slave driver. Beautiful. The slave driver is, we don't want to let people down. We're willing to let your husband down to take care of other people's agenda. Like, the slave driver is a pushover in a debate, right? Like it can't win the debate. It's just going to keep saying the same stuff. And basically the same stuff is a version of, sure, you were an A student yesterday, but you're shit today. Right? That's its move. That's its single move, is to play off your fear of not being perfect, of not being enough. So instead of saying, well, you know what, it's 20% of me, we're going to call it, I love that, we're going to call it the slave driver. And you'll notice that the slave driver is going to have a predictable set of things to say when your beeping habit thing goes off, or when you say, oh, it's 9:30, it's time to turn off the computer. And you just say, okay, it's going to say those things. I'm going to have the feeling in my belly. I'm going to have the spinning. And for a while, I'll argue with it. So Laura had some beautiful arguments for, this is what we say. Josh had some beautiful things to say. Kevin had some beautiful things to say. If you're on Facebook Live, Sarah Bofinger, another one of our fantastic coaching academy graduates, said, think of putting on your own oxygen mask so you can get all your tasks done efficiently. Do the self-care, right? So for a while, you can say those things. But know that it doesn't matter, because the slave driver is not going to shut up.
That's actually really helpful, knowing that it's, and this is, when I'm speaking to people who have anxiety, the reframe on that is, you know what, you can have anxious thinking. You don't actually need to do anything about it. You don't need to make it go away. You don't need to use cognitive behavioral strategies to combat it. It just is what it is. And it's just that Michael Neal has this great line in his TEDx talk. He says, it's like Bob the homeless guy just took up residence in my head, and every now and again Bob goes off. He's like, oh yeah, that's Bob the homeless guy, whatever, we don't really need to pay attention to that. In his case, it was suicidal thoughts. And he got to this relationship with suicidal thoughts. It was like, yeah, Bob the homeless guy, he just went off, whatever, we don't pay attention to him.
Beautiful. So that's what's going to be different. Right. That's why. So now it's become, instead of it's a character trait, now it's going to be a decision. Okay, 9:30. It's time for things to stop. Slave driver is chattering. Stomach is churning. Am I willing to put up with this for a while or not? The feelings will go away very quickly. The thoughts may never. Right. So I can tell you, I have these thoughts. I do. Josh knows this workout. It's the one you gave me, the hill workout, right? 13 hill sprints, 5 for 1 minute each, and then 8 for 45 seconds. the entire time I'm doing this workout, I am telling myself why this is the last sprint. It's like, no, it's not. Yeah, I'll do 5 to, like, no, because of last night and because I have a thing on Thursday and blah, 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 blah. Like, it's so predictable. And it's the same thing. And I can't shut it off. And all I can do is the next effing sprint and the next effing sprint. And regardless of the chatter.
Yeah.
So, and ultra marathoning has taught me something that's really useful in life. That's exactly sort of the conclusion that you are. I can see it. I can see that you're coming to right now. And it's advice that I give to other people who have aspirations to run ultra marathons or any sort of endurance endeavor, which is let it hurt. Right? Hurt is just another word for discomfort or anxiousness or whatever. And so when I'm running and I'm in a big race and I'm here, that's what I'm here to do. Yes, it hurts. Yes, I have a groin cramp that is persistent right now and my feet are hurting. And I think that second toenail on the right foot is just floating around free in my sock. I'm pretty sure it's bloody in there. But I signed up for this. I'm doing this. It's uncomfortable. I don't need to answer the question, is this a smart thing to do? Is it really hurting me? Or like, all I can do in that moment is just let it be what it is. Let it be uncomfortable and let it hurt. And you'd be surprised, like even in those very acute situations of intense pain and discomfort, it fades, it goes away. And next thing you know, you're in mile 50 and something else is bothering you. It's not that anymore. And you can move on to that, right? So that's just a 3-word sentence that I think is extremely helpful. And it's been extremely helpful to me in my life outside of running, because there's lots of things in my life that I have to just let hurt. There's nothing I can do about it. And so, and in doing that, in that surrender, in that process of surrender, we create some adaptation and some new norms, you know?
Got it. Yeah.
How are you feeling, Robin?
Good. I'm interested in running this experiment tonight.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. So, yeah, I mean, experiment's a pretty good word because there is some lingering doubt around, like, is this really going to improve my life? Like do it for 3 days and then see, like, have all your clients written bad Yelp reviews for you? Right? Like, has the world fallen apart? Is there real, like, you've been extremely present on this call for over an hour now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really worried about your clients, honestly. Like it feels like you're totally neglecting them for this entire time. I hope that's okay.
All right, point taken.
So, yeah, well, we're very curious to hear, like, what you discover. You set up the rule, and then you either follow it or you don't. Then if you can do your fast assessment, what was I feeling? How was I acting? What was I sensing in my body? What was I thinking? You'll get data, and you'll decide, you know what, this is a great rule, and I need to do some things differently. Maybe I need to just do something like at 5 p.m. I need to do something at 5 p.m. so that by 9:30, it's easier to do this. Or maybe, you know what, this is not exactly the right rule for me, and here's why, and here's what I'm going to try. It's simply iterative until you find the thing that works best to optimize your life, rather than making us happy, or Dean or Aisha or Neil or Alan or anybody else happy with your waking and sleep patterns.
Cool. Great. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks to all of you.
Yeah, thank you for surrendering to this. And
I'm going to read that book.
It's amazing. It's that, and there's another book that he wrote called The Untethered Soul. Both are phenomenal. But the Surrender Experiment is just tremendous. It has really helped me a lot in my running and in my life in general.
Cool. All right. I'm just writing that down.
I just added it to the chat box so people can see it there.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, and thanks. We could feel your anxiety about taking up all the time, which is just
sorry. Sorry, Laura. We didn't get to your issue, and
Well, so
anyway, that was useful.
Yeah, I think it's deliciously ironic that the issue was about time, and it expanded beyond what we thought it was going to be. But we have time for, let's prove to you. Let's take 15 minutes and solve everybody else's problems. Let's prove to you that time is infinite, and Einsteinian and quantum, and it's not Newtonian. So, Josh, all right, all right, what would you say to Lara about her issue about wanting to eat everything in sight and being 20 pounds heavier and having trouble with pull-ups and all that?
Yeah. How long were you injured? How long were you out?
So it's like 3 years because I had to get used to my new hip.
Yeah.
And I'm 44. I think I just turned 45.
Right.
So
I love how you're not positive.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think the hard-asked part is being so fit from eating like animal flesh and, being on like a high protein diet. And then I'm pretty sure that's what caused a lot of the osteoarthritis and acidosis.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's really cool to be loving all this green stuff and feeling so different and recovering so fast. Right. And I don't get that like feeling after I can't move. Like now I can move and I'm like, okay, bring on some more. It's good fun. I'm laughing, having a good time. People are struggling. I mean, I'm struggling too, but it's just a different type of feeling. Right. But I feel so silly doing this because I feel like I know what you're going to say. And already you helped me just learning.
Say it before Josh gets a chance.
Well, like a little bit, I don't know, like kind of like shut the F up, kind of like just eat the kale and put the chips down. Duh. Like, what's your problem? Or the other thing, which you guys just said, actually, like, what are you going to do at 5 o'clock so that at 9 o'clock you can go to bed? So like for me, when I get all crazy bingey, like 3 o'clock, between 3 and 5, when I'm going to eat everything and I start eating everything, like just make a salad at 12 o'clock and have that salad away, make your big green smoothie, and then make like an apple with some peanut butter. And that's going to be your food for the rest of the day. Set up your water bottles so you have your 100 ounces for the day, put your little check marks on them and call it good, and then get moving. So go for a walk, go for a hike, do your yoga. Duh. It's like, it's not hard. Whatever. It's just choices, right? It's just choices.
Very structured and boring.
It helps me though. Like if I have read it, if I can check it off, like, oh yeah, there's my water. That one's done. That one's done. Yeah, you're right. It would be cool to be more spontaneous.
Here's what really comes to mind when I just sort of heard what you were saying.
Yeah.
And this is why I asked how long you were sort of out, and by out I mean away from your peak, right? And is the reason that I ask is because you basically you're burning calories right now at an accelerated rate compared to what you have been for the past 3 years, and then you're excited about it. I am too. I just went through sort of like probably 18 months of not being able to do my thing. I've been deeply injured with I have a protrusion between L4 and L5 and some severe spinal stenosis that was really exacerbated by some poor training in 2017 and not really staying focused on recovery. And so I had the pressure of this Liverpool marathon coming up, and I just fought through injury to go and get it done. And boom, I didn't want to do surgery. So I had to go through this very long process of trial and error and doing different treatments and doing different types of things before I settled into one, healing. I had the time that passed by me doing all sorts of things that didn't work out physically. And then, so in that time that passed, my body's healing, but I'm also going through the process of the iterative process of trying to figure out how to move my body. I've discovered yoga since then, more strength training, more core focus. I needed to change my form, right? So I went through a lot of that. And so now here I am back feeling fit and like an athlete again, right? But I have to say, in the first few months of me getting back into the full swing of things, and that calorie burn really starts to spike, all I found myself being gravitated towards was caloric density. That's what I wanted. It was just, and it's not normally something that I would crave or that I would want. I would be happy with my potatoes mashed into a bowl of kale with some nutritional yeast and some sriracha on it, and that's how I ate through all my training. My mom could attest to it. That was my wheelhouse. And so it was weird because as I started to get my legs back under me, both figuratively and actually, I'm drawing a blank on that, literally. So as I started to get my legs back beneath me, this was an alien world again to me almost. Physically, my body was like, whoa, what's going on? And so I almost had to, and it's weird because mentally I'm not that far removed from running 630 paces and doing all of that stuff that I used to do. So when my body's like really working hard to do things that used to be kind of meh for me, right? It was tough mentally. So it's a mental thing. So I'm seeking dopamine really because I'm not really where I used to be. And not only that, but my calorie demand is through the roof, even more so than it was when I was fit because I'm re-whipping myself into shape again.
Okay.
And you know what I mean? So I wouldn't freak out that we are drawn to foods that seem to be counterproductive to us finally getting rid of this remaining 15 pounds that we have on our body. Also, another thing that the 15 pounds itself, I don't know how much of that is, you probably do, that is pure body fat and how much of it is just more water because you're more hydrated from eating in a more calorically dilute, but more water rich, fiber rich way. So I don't know exactly what is body fat, what is not body fat. And it feels harder to do pull-ups, not necessarily because of the 15 pounds. It might be because you just still haven't built your strength back up to that point yet. And you're mentally trying to cognitively find the culprit, right? And so this is another, we say this word a lot. This is another surrender thing where we surrender to nature and we surrender to the process and we surrender to our inputs. And we're very, very objective and clear about what it is that we're doing. So when we are trying to lose our last like 15 pounds, that's a completely different animal from trying to lose our first 200 pounds, right? Because we have to get a lot more specificity. We have to develop a lot more specificity in our protocol. We might need to do some, in my case, is what I'm doing right now. We might need to do a little bit of calorie counting. We might need to understand where we are, do exactly what you're talking, what it seems like it's in your bailiwick to do that sort of a thing and get that granular in your approach and in your inputs to really sort of see, okay, I want X, right? So what do I do to get there very specifically, and then go through that trial and error process of, I'm going to do this, even if it's wrong. I understand I'm going to do this. My research, my mind, my experience tells me to do this. We're going to do this, and we're going to be very specific about it, and we're going to work forward and move through that decision, and then let our results dictate the sufficiency of that thing we decided to do. Does that make sense at all to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my husband just came home and my kid.
Totally. I get it. It happens all the time.
I just wanted to add really quickly to what Josh was just saying there. Because to me, part of that was really a big help for me was to definitely kind of surrender the old mindset of food, like this other mindset of food, and start to think of it, as this is something that I'm doing to fuel and nourish my body, right? So you're trying to get back to that activity level and, back to deadlifting the 300 pounds and all of that. But for me, when I started thinking of this food as like, this is what fuels me to be able to do that and to be able to recover from it, just like really changed everything. And especially if you were to do some of a little bit more close monitoring of calories and things like that, like Josh is talking about, at times when I've done that, then I'm looking at it and going, well, this is what I need to fuel that. I don't need this. So then it actually, for me, took the temptation to eat a Lara bar randomly at 3:00.
Right.
Or whatever that was,
Right. Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you so much. That is huge.
What are your results? I mean, are you really stuck, or are you, because it sounds to me that you are experiencing some progress.
Yeah, a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what I don't want you to do, which a lot of people do, is they really lose focus on the silver linings, and they wind up focusing on what we don't have yet, rather than look what we've done, right? And so that's a very slippery slope, and that's a very detrimental to success habit to form. And so, but you're here and you're talking about it out loud. That's a very smart thing, to not just suppress it and just beat yourself up and go down that rabbit hole, but you're bringing it to the light and trying to pay attention to it and ask questions about it, which is the smart thing to do. I would say, just from my perspective, I would focus on where I am having my progress. It sounds like there's lots to be pumped about, given where you've been in the past 3 years. Same thing with me. I found myself this morning bummed because I ran 6.5 miles at about a 9-minute pace. And yesterday I ran 6 miles at about a 9-minute pace at a 133 heart rate. This morning I ran and I was like, that felt easier than yesterday. I bet my heart rate was like in the 120s and my heart rate was 144. And I'm like, immediately, why? What's wrong? What am I doing wrong? Like, I started just obsessing instead of like, a 9-minute pace is becoming like an all-day easy pace for me again. Instead of me focusing on that, you very easily can start slipping, especially if you identify with being a high-octane athlete, which you obviously do. You really tend to see the negative more than the positive, because in a lot of ways in your mind, that is what's going to propel you forward. And that's true in the short term, but I think in the long term, and more as far as sustainability, the self-love part, the more nurturing part, the more let me focus on the positive. That doesn't mean to fake the funk. That doesn't mean to pretend, but there's a balance there. And I think the more sustainable thing to do is exactly what we were just talking about, is to stay steady, focus on the silver linings, take that incremental improvement. When you have results that don't match what you want, then we look at the sufficiency of our inputs, and we have to be cold and objective about it. Seems like you already have that as a habit, and to me, it sounds like you're really on a solid path, headed in the right direction.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. So one thing, when I asked you to like give yourself the advice that you thought Josh was going to give you, so you were, pretty like bap, 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 like this is like, come on, stupid, right? Like, right. So a lot, most people in life are going to be the opposite. They're going to make excuses. They're going to look for the easy way out. Your tendency is the opposite. Your tendency is, where can I find a new place to whip myself that I haven't whipped myself before?
I hope not.
All right. It's like where can I get more leverage on myself, as opposed to celebrating, what like Josh said, like talking about the silver lining. So I want to give you a little exercise to do, and this comes from a book that I think you would love. It's called The Brave Athlete.
Okay.
By Leslie Patterson and Simon. I had them on my podcast maybe 9 months, a year ago. The exercise is, so like, let's say Josh is coming back from his run, and his heart rate's 144, and he's now blah, 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 blah. The exercise is to write out your interpretation of the event. I was running, I did a 6.5. I thought it would be 120. It was at 144. I can't, was something wrong with me? What's going on? Am I overtraining? Am I undertraining? Did I eat too late? Did I not get enough sleep? Do I have a viral infection? Whatever you're going to do. And then go back and circle the objective facts. And then read those minus the interpretation. And just say, so the objective facts would be, I ran a 6.5 miles at a 9-minute pace at a 142 heart rate. Those are the objective facts. And then can you come up with a different interpretation, or maybe no interpretation? But simply look at not just progress one day to the next, but progress like, how was your 9-minute pace 6 months ago, Josh?
Non-existent.
Yeah.
Right. So to allow yourself to surrender to fact.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. It's like those. You ever hear the coffee shop punch card experiment?
No.
Okay. So imagine the coffee shop, the researchers go to the coffee shop and we say, we want to see what motivates people to fill out their punch cards. You get 10, like the loyalty card, you get 10 punches and you get a free cup of coffee. All right. And we're going to see which one gets people to do it faster. One was the punch card asked for 8 punches and you get a free cup of coffee. The other punch card asked for 10 punches, but 2 of them were pre-punched. And they found, what do you think? If they do a randomized trial, which punch card do you think on average gets people their coffee faster, their free coffee?
I don't know. The one with the more punches?
Yeah, because those people were 20% there already.
Yeah.
Right? Even though they both needed 8, 0 to 8 is 0 out of 8 is 0%. 2 out of 10 is 20%.
Right.
So the way to motivate yourself is to look and see how far you've come.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of practice in that because I hit different phases throughout my entire process. I know that's not exactly parallel to your story, but it is very much so, because you hit these sort of snagging points in growth. That's, you know what I mean? And you have to have one of those sort of come to Jesus moments and just kind of say, okay, look where we've come though, man. Look where we are. Are we willing to take this next step to do something different? It's going to be weird. It's not going to be the thing you did to get where you're at. But look what we've done. Now it's time to start developing something new. And what it is, it's more like, you know, and I use this example with people a lot. You can like build a tree, like Disney World fashion. You can build one out of wires and paper mache, and it'll look like a tree, and it'll take a lot of freaking work to build it and make it all, right? But it's not a tree. To have a real live oak tree with a deep, deep taproot and a big, thick trunk, it takes time and it takes growth. And that growth takes nurturing. We have to nurture and grow this. We can't force it and build it like a Disney World prop, right? And so if we think of this as more in the long term, and we want to nurture and grow, that nurturing comes from some self-love. That's what that's about. And that's where we really have to reflect over how far we've come. It doesn't mean settle for where you are, but we have to recognize how far we've come so we can really appreciate our trajectory and not freak out. You know, we're on the right path, you know, and so it just might mean we have to do some different inputs, and we're just figuring out, and we're twisting knobs and switching levers, and that's fun. That's where all of the excitement is in all of that experimentation and trying to figure out what's going to move the needle next for me, you know, and that part is what really excites me and has just sort of sent me off into the stratosphere, especially as like an ex-fat guy, is that part. And that has just been something that has happened over time, where I've slowly, by going back to the drawing board again, going back to the table again, and deciding, like, instead of beating myself up, I really need to appreciate how far I've come. Yes, I want to be here. Yes, I want to run a mountain 100 miler. Yes, I want to run a Boston qualifying marathon time. I have failed. But rather than focus on that, boy, in the process, man, I have run a 100-mile race. I've lost 230 pounds. I've made some wonderful, wonderful friends. I've helped some people learn how to do some amazing things with their body and their mind, and help them see the way to do something awesome with their life. And so when I do that, I feel like I love myself more. And if I love myself more, I feel like sticking my neck out there and letting it hurt a little bit to make the next uncomfortable step, because it's only uncomfortable temporarily. And that's how we grow, is that constant loop of doing that constant loop. And we can do that till we're in the pine box at the end of our days. It's forever. And that's sustainable. That's long-term. That's life for me, you know?
Yeah. It's great. Thank you.
All right. So Lara, what are you going to do? What's your plan?
I'm going to go make like a kale salad with romaine and tahini. When I wake up in the morning, I'm just going to make my food. That way the food is not it's not such a barrier for me, right? So it's just made, and that makes it a lot easier. That way when I make my kids pastas or breads or peanut butter and jellies, it's not going to go in my mouth because my food's already made. So that's easy, right?
And just from a sheer like fat adaptation perspective, do you ever worry about how late you eat at night? Not by a certain time, because I'll tell you something that really helps me is cutting it off at, say, 7 p.m. and then not engaging in food again until after my morning workout. That might not be a thing for you because because I'm not familiar with what you do.
Yeah,
you do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good one. And it takes time. It takes time to get to really, because your body doesn't want to let go of body fat.
No, I know. That's true.
That is a very important thing that your body put away. That's
Yeah.
to keep us from dying. That's to keep us from starving. So, and I love how Howard talks. And Howard, I wish he talks about how we treat our bodies sometimes. And he does this wonderful thing. I can't repeat it because I don't really have his sort of skill set. But he talks about the body, how treating it like a small child. Right? Would you mind like
Yeah, sure.
humoring us a bit with that?
Sure. Like our bodies are the most innocent, loving beings that you can imagine. I saw earlier you had a dog in your face, right? Like your dog just wants to love you, just wants to please, will do whatever it can to just be there, be loving. It doesn't care. Like, you know, you yell at it, 2 minutes later, it's just wagging its tail, right? There's an innocence to a dog that is so endearing. So I think of our bodies like that, like they'll do whatever we ask them to do. They will try to make the best of the crappiest food we give them. They will try to make the best of cigarettes, of alcohol, of drugs. They'll try to make the best of 4 hours of sleep a night and spending the day on coke and amphetamines. They will try their best. They will try to heal, right? If you smoke a cigarette, the body will cough. It will try to expel the smoke. So our bodies are these sweet, beautiful, loving, innocent, incredible organisms that are just always moving towards health, always moving towards better. And we treat them like shit, right? And I'm not just talking physically, but emotionally as well. Like I get up, and I discovered this from doing a workshop in which I laid on a piece of butcher paper and they traced my body, and then I took Post-it notes and I put the notes on all the different parts, and I just wrote like, this part's too big, this part's too small, this part has a scar that I shouldn't have gotten, I was clumsy. This part here is when I ran into the thing, and this part here, I think that might be a rash, I think it might be impetigo, like why do I even have that? I'm supposed to be, and I realized like my entire body was this catalog of not good enough. And I'd get up and I'd get out of the shower, look at myself in the full-length mirror and go, you fat piece of shit. Right? And what I discovered in that workshop and have been working on ever since is, like a little baby, a little child who's, they're in foster care now. They've been abused, they've been mistreated physically, emotionally, and now they're in my care. And now I've grown the capacity and I've grown the awareness of who they are, what they need. I'm like, oh, body, thank you for that 5 miler today. I know it was hard. I know our heels are hurting. I know you want to do some stretching. I feel that. Like the tenderness with which we can approach our bodies, and just as they're due, just as to say the war is over.
Yeah. That's a big one. Yeah.
And let it grow. Let it grow. Just keep providing the fertilizer. Keep providing, the nurturing. Keep providing the consciousness to it. This isn't the outcome I was wanting to get. Why? What's happening? What's different? Let me calculate. Let me look. And fall in love with that process, not the outcomes, but the process itself. So, and yeah, appreciate it.
Do you
You're great.
do you ever do you question at all if that you're doing the right thing? I mean, you know what I mean, that you're doing things the right way?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, because I was like, I could be totally way off, but I'm like, I just have for a half an hour had this feeling of like, so personally, I'm a former CrossFit coach, zone paleo eater, all that stuff. So this is where I'm like, I'm thinking back to like what you were saying. I'm just like, it was, go ahead.
I feel like I want to go back into like the monster and like turn the dial. Like I want to show them that I could be just as strong vegan, and that I can perform even better. I just want to show people because they don't
What-
you need this and this?
How
And I'm
long-
not,
But are you also trying to show yourself?
I think myself, yeah,
Because
for sure.
that was a struggle for me too, right? You know, like, is this thought, like, it just takes this long, like, really showing yourself, like, look, I'm eating this stuff that I know because I've read all of this scientific information, like, this is the stuff that's healthy. And then, like, for me personally, I lost 100 pounds doing this, right? But it's like, you know, so I've seen it, I've felt it, but there was still this persistent, like, okay, but this is what I was doing before. All these other people were telling me this is the way to go. And it all goes back to this surrender thing, right? Like, you just have to kind of, like, surrender that I'm doing the things that are best for my body. Like what Howard was just saying, like, I'm giving my body what it needs. And my perspective of what that body looks like is somewhat in here, right? Like, oh, this is too big, this is too small. And that changes. Throughout our lives, it changes at different times, depending on how if we're treating our body really well, we may see that it adapts in different ways that are natural and that are maybe the best thing for it, but that we aren't used to.
And there's no doubt that on, like, in the way you were eating before probably had you a lot leaner, a lot drier, more cut, right? But you have to also remember, it took you a long time to get there, I'm sure. I don't know what your life was like. And so here you are hitting the reset button, so to speak. And it's not going to take you nearly as long to get there again than it did to get there the first time. But in that interim, you're going to be questioning, like, yeah, but this is what I did to get there. Right? And so you're constantly punching holes in it. And so that's where the surrender thing, like, I have completely surrendered to the fact that I am a herbivorous biped.
Mm-hmm.
I live my life as that. I embrace it. I own it. I love it. I don't give a shit what Chris Kresser says. I don't care what Joe Rogan says.
Yeah.
Right? I feel some compassion and empathy for them because they got it so wrong.
Yeah.
And they're painted into such a tight corner.
Yeah.
Right. And so that surrendering to that type of animal, and being CrossFit, you're in a very similar place where you're throwing your own body weight around a lot of times. You're doing a lot of things that's functional and useful for the human body. And so you're surrendering to the mechanisms that make up being a human organism.
Yeah.
Right. And so to surrender to that very, very logical human nutritional protocol, when we talk about biomimicry and all of the things that I use in my mind to make me sort of really settle with the fact that, yeah, I am basically herbivorous. Could I get away with eating some meat because we've adapted to do that over the eons? Absolutely. But is it absolutely a prerequisite for my health? Absolutely not. Is it a hack to get rid of body fat? Absolutely. I've seen it done over and over. I've done it myself over and over. But are there consequences? Does it make my body very acidic? Could it really hurt my cardiovascular system? Does it hurt my endurance? It absolutely does, right? So there's a lot of things that we can sort of, squash those thoughts with if we're fully, educated on what it is and fully surrendered to what that education points towards.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. You guys are awesome.
No, yeah,
Great.
You're awesome.
Great.
You are awesome.
Okay, enough of that.
You're awesome. You're awesome.
Everybody's awesome. Open voice.
Yeah. Laura, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, for your vulnerability, and for your openness to the discussion. Just want to, I'm keeping an eye on the time. We actually, in 16 minutes, we have our actual coaching
call, right?
So we're gonna kick all you guys out because this is going to be the actual confidential one. But I wanted to check in with Kathy with a C. We're not going to have a lot of time to talk about your issue about being stressed out, but I'm wondering if there's anything you've heard tonight so far that informs that, and where you're at with that.
Oh, I think this has been really good. I mean, everything that people have talked about sort of is sort of a universal type of thing. You know, I'm a plant-based person. I do 100-mile bike rides and things like that. So I've learned, just like you've talked about, to sort of ease through that pain. And maybe I just needed a good reminder that when I am stressed, to sit through it, and, you know, it'll get better. And there are lots of things I can do to nurture myself. I don't have to eat. I can meditate. You know, I can go take a walk. I can play with my dog. You know, so this has all been really good. And Josh's thing about appreciating the past, where you've come from, I think is really important. And just remembering to take care of yourself. So I think this has been really helpful.
Beautiful. So I want to offer one additional thing. This comes straight from me channeling Josh now. To
should be fun.
To have. So while you're working on, instead of eating, meditating or going for a walk or playing with the kids, grandkids or whatever, to have a not so bad food to turn to when you're stressed.
Right.
Right. So to make, you will, as Josh was saying to me today, it was like, we still have valleys. I'm just trying to make my valleys not so low as they were in the past. Mm-hmm. So what I would, if we had a lot of time, I would ask you to describe the last or a recent situation where you ate something you didn't want to eat while under stress.
I would tell you that I'm not a chocolate person. I just love Twizzlers.
Twizzlers. Okay. So we find, like, when was the last time you had a Twizzler? Where did it come from? Does the Twizzler feel like, do you buy it? Does it?
Yeah. What I usually do is, you know, if I'm in the store or something, sometimes they call to me and I just try to leave as quickly as possible. But every so often I'll grab something so I can hide it in case I really need it and think I might deserve to have it after having a hard day.
Sure. So at that point, I would work not so much on the moment of stress, but on the decision to buy it. And I'd ask you to come up with a Twizzler rule. And your Twizzler rule could be anything from never again to I only eat 7 Twizzlers a month to I only eat Twizzlers on Saturday when the moon is in Saturn to whatever, to I eat Twizzlers unlimited. I only eat the red ones. Whatever your rule is, create a rule.
Yeah.
And then I would say, for a while, maybe do that thing where you run away. But then I would go to the store and I'd walk past the Twizzler aisle, and we'd have what we call in Wellstart a fight through, where instead of being mugged, like, oh, darn it, I was stressed out and I lost, the Twizzler beat me, we're actually practicing going up to the Twizzler, just like, you know, a cognitive behavioral therapist would have us desensitized to a phobia.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Walk up to that Twizzler aisle and you go, yeah, what do you got today? You got shit.
Poke him right in the chest.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And none of this, bro. Right. Exactly.
And eventually get to the place, because we don't want to be walking through our lives like it's all the bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right.
And even if you do find yourself with the Twizzlers at the checkout and you bought them and you're in the car and you're still wrestling with yourself and you're eating one, experiment with throwing the rest of them in the garbage. Do something uncomfortable about it. You know, I do that all the time with, and it drives Howard crazy. It's so wasteful. But I'll grab, because it's so much cheaper to buy the big long bags of peanuts at Walmart than to buy like the little bags of Planters in the shell at a gas station or something. But I'll go in there and I'll be at Walmart and I'll buy all of this good food, salads and everything. And I'll go, oh yeah, those peanuts. I hadn't had a bag of those. I hadn't had some of those in a while. And I'll open the bag, and on my way to my truck, I'm serious, I'll grab the bag right in the middle and just shake them like this and throw half the freaking bag on the ground.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm in control, damn it. I am in control. Yes, I'm having some peanuts right now, but I'm the boss. You know, and so being able to feel the reins in your hands by doing silly things that people might think you're crazy or wasteful for, be willing to taste that discomfort a little bit for the greater good.
Yeah.
So just some little, not hacks, but just some little ways to think about the entire process of that, the Twistler acquisition protocol, all of it, right? The movement, the moment before, the moment during, you know, the moment after, all of that. There's room for improvement in every single phase.
Thank you.
And Heather, let's close out with you. We'll take 5 more minutes. And I think Josh and I probably need a bio break and bang our head against a wall. Kevin, I don't know if you're joining the 8 o'clock Eastern call or if you get the night off.
I think I might have dinner.
Yeah, I think you deserve dinner. Heather, what is there anything that you've heard tonight that you can apply to your question?
I just picked up odds and ends of, look at how far I've come. And I say, I've added a lot of, this is not about weight, but it is about exercise. I had a hip replacement and recovered from that. I used to use hiking poles and for going for walks and so forth. I don't do that anymore. I just do sort of a variety of exercise. And at this point, I swim laps in a pool. And I look at things totally differently because if I look back 2 years, I was in the pool doing some aquacore exercises. And after 3 months, I got a little bored with just bobbing around in the pool. And then I said, I love to swim. So I started swimming laps. And now I swim normally about 40 laps in a half an hour. And it feels really good. It's good for my body. And if I look back at my beginnings in the pool, it was a little while ago. And right now it feels really good. So I keep going. I just keep exercising. I want all that oxygen to go to my brain. And I'm real pleased with the progress. So just you're like Benjamin Button.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Like, how many people your age are now getting walking sticks?
Oh yeah, a few.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You're going backwards.
They're going from lap swimming to the bounce around, not really doing very much exercise.
Right. I just don't want to go like my parents did, and I'm real committed and determined.
My mom's the same way. Yeah.
And I just want to share it with some people because I can be a little, not exactly offensive, but in their face. And I just don't want to do that. I want to invite people to participate and continue on.
Right.
So I love to talk to you about the coaching and possibility because I've done a lot of self-education. And
great. Yeah, and as Josh said, you being you, like for Josh to be, 40 and to be fit, okay, there's lots of ways to do that. To be 76 and getting fitter every day, there's not that many protocols that work. And so people are really going to pay attention. Like we just saw a video of Ellsworth Wareham, a 104-year-old cardiac surgeon who's been a vegan. He just did an interview. It's like, you know what? When a 104-year-old says anything, I'm listening. Right?
Yeah.
So the more success you have, the more attractive you are as a voice of wisdom and reason. And I would just say, in terms of your question about being stuck at the same weight, that I don't know what you eat. So, I would like to to take a look at, are there really obvious low-hanging non-fruit in your diet? The other thing that I would say, and I have to wrap up in a minute, is to look at your feeding window. So if you're eating, let's say after 6 or 7 at night, to see if you can get a 12 or a 14-hour window every day of no food. If that works for your life and your metabolism, that's one of the quickest ways to lose an extra 5, 10, 15 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have time to go into the details, but those are things to look at.
I can go for that.
And caloric density, there's probably some caloric density trip ups in some very calorically dense things that are still compliant in a whole food plant-based scenario, like maybe dried fruit or nut butters or different things. Oh, oh.
Yeah, I just went to the farmer's market. I had dates. I bought some dates. Why
it's
did
okay
I
to just understand the naturally attainable quantity of what a date is and how high up it is in a tree, how hard you would have had to work to get it, how much water would actually be in a date when you get it off of a tree versus when you buy it in a store and then now it's dried fruit, all the water's gone, it takes up less room. It still has the same amount of calories in it. Takes up less room.
You have to climb the tree to get it.
You didn't have to climb a tree to get it. All of those things need to come, like once we develop that prism through which to look at our very natural whole food choices, then we can start to address the quantity, the really acceptable quantity of what peanuts are, or what cashews are, or what almonds are, or what avocados are, or what dates are, right? And so we can not fool ourselves and go, well, I'm eating whole food plant-based, but I just must have hit a plateau. There's places to turn the knobs and slide the levers and manipulate if we get real objective, understand where we are, and be willing to grow where we are with nurturing and time and consistency and attention and objectivity in our inputs.
I'd like to go for those details because there are peanuts in the house. There are dates, raisins and stuff. So,
right. Well, so soon our book, which has a whole set of chapters on naturally attainable quantities, will be available for free as PDF or Kindle. I'm going to be the meanie right now and close this down.
Sorry, guys.
By fiat. So I just want to thank all of you who showed up, knowing that this is, sort of, intimate kind of issues that you're bringing up and sharing for the benefit, first of all, of our coach trainees who get to watch this, and then also for the benefit of everyone who's going to be watching this and hopefully, be inspired and guided to make their own changes. And I'll just end with a quick commercial because this is, we are Well Start Health, and this is part of the program that we take people through to help people, turn around their health destiny, to really learn, first of all, to learn that there are knobs and that we have knobs, that we can turn them, that we're not just at the mercy of genetics or environment, that we do have control and we can learn how to get more and more of it, and to learn that at the same time as we're taking more and more control, we're paradoxically and beautifully and deliciously surrendering more and more to what is. So if folks are watching this, either live or later, and you're interested in joining us, Josh and Kevin and I and a bunch of other coaches, and we have texting with coaches and some voice with coaches and group discussions, and these where, I don't know if you guys, like in 2 hours, I feel like we've sort of made a little bit of a community. And that's one of the reasons we love using this platform, because we get to know each other, especially over the 12 weeks and then over the entire year. So I'm going to close this down. Thank you all so much for playing. I apologize to people we didn't get to at all. I hope that there was some value here for you as well. I just want to thank everyone. So if you're interested, if anyone's interested, wellstarthealth.com. You can go to /program and read about it. And we would love to work with you if that feels right. And if you're watching this and you'd like to take our coach training, you can just drop us a line or drop me a line, howard@wellstarthealth.com, and we will let you know when we're going to be doing the next one of those as well.
And
So,
surrender is freedom, not failure. Remember.
all right. Let's end with that.
Good end note, Josh.
Everybody. And
Thanks, everyone.
later.
Peace, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.